Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and today we're going to check out all of this. So let's get started. HOBOTECH. So what is all this? Well, this is everything you can get on the Indiegogo campaign for the BLUETTI AC200 power station. We have a pair of the 120 watt solar panels, which everybody's been asking about. We finally have the elusive lead acid battery clamps, which you can get as part of the pledge on Indiegogo. We got some of the extra cables that some people have been asking what they're for. We have the MC4 cable that obviously you need this for solar. And up front we have a pair of the chargers, the OEM chargers that come with this. It'll let you plug in both at the same time to get 800 watts AC input on this thing. And over here, this is not a Back to the Future hoverboard as much as it looks like it. It actually is a dolly for this. So you can actually pick this up, put it in its bag, put it on its trolley, and carry it around. It's got locking wheels and everything. It's really cool. It's got this little bin inside where you can keep the bag when you're not using it, where you can put cables in there or whatever. And this thing folds up. Let me show you. Just gotta squeeze the bar underneath. There's a bar underneath here. You gotta squeeze it. Folds flat, clicks into place. There you go. And that's all there is to it. You can haul this thing around pretty easily. It's a little on the heavy side, but then again, it's made with metal, so you're gonna expect it not to be super lightweight. It's certainly a lot easier than picking that thing up and hauling it around. So let's see how it looks on the trolley. One power brick, boo, two power bricks, boo, And a nickel to anybody out there who can figure out who I was just doing an impression of. And it looks like the rain's gonna come in again, so I better make this quick. Now look at that, ain't that sexy? You can push that thing around. Of course, this handle comes out. So there you go, you can pull the handle out. You can pull this thing around or push it around however you want. I know this trolley is going to get a lot of use where I'm going next. Now, I'm not too sure about the carrying handles because you can't really grip them tight. I guess it's a two-handed ordeal. Did I mention it was 100 degrees out here? There you go. You got the BLUETTI in its bag on its cart. So now you can wheel it to wherever you want without having to sweat like I just did. So this bag comes with the trolley. So when you get the trolley on Indiegogo, I believe it's $79. I think that's what it was last I checked. You get the bag with it. So it's an all-in-one deal. I think it's absolutely worth it because you can use this trolley for all kinds of things around your house or in your garage or whatever. You know, you could pile a bunch of lithium batteries on here and push them around pretty easily. And how do you fold the handle down? You squeeze these little knobs over here, boom. So yes, this comes with a lot of cables. We're gonna go over how to use these here in a little bit later in this video, and we'll demonstrate these whenever we do the solar panels, because this is the MC4 connector. Everybody here knows what this is. This goes to your cigarette lighter port on your vehicle, so you can charge from 12 or 24 volts. This is what they call an aviation plug to XT60. This is a very high amp output, 60 amps, and this is one of the recommendations I made to BLUETTI is to use heavy duty cabling and connectors for people that want to wire this into their rigs. So this is an input cable. So this goes to the solar input, which case you can plug the 12 volt adapter, the battery cables, or the now filthy, since they hit the ground, MC4 adapter. All three of those plug into this input cable. As for output options, if you actually want to use the 25 amp high power DC output on this, you'll need to get this combo of cables. This is the output for the DC port. This uses, again, another aviation plug, but it's different than the other one. This one is male, the other one's female, and it goes to an XT connector. That also comes with this adapter, which again, I recommended they give you an option to make the output Anderson, although this Anderson output's only good for like 25, 30 amps. You wouldn't want to push it any harder than that. But basically, you just connect these two together, and now your AC200 power station outputs Anderson. So you can use this in your car, truck, van, or RV, plug it into your fuse box or whatever you want to power, and you can actually pull 325 watts. If you want to use this is kind of a better connector, use this XT connector and get another XT adapter and wire this into whatever you want to do. Now this cable set is for the DIYer. This is for somebody who wants to take the AC200, and wants to output it into a rig. They want to run a max air fan, they want to run other 12-volt stuff, their smoke detector, whatever. And that's what these optional cables are for. So you can get these if you plan on doing a DIY, or if you plan on using that 25 amp DC output, you're going to need this cable. And finally, this cable is the cable that comes with the power brick. Now currently for 110 bucks on the Indiegogo campaign, that price may change, you can actually get a power brick. This is a 400 watt power supply with one of these adapters. And what this does, it allows you to take the 8mm output of the power brick, and then you just plug it into this. And now you have that XT90 connector, which plugs into the input where the solar, the 12, everything else plugs in. Now you can charge your BLUETTI AC200 from AC power with 2 of these at 800 watts. That's no joke. Here we go, we have our brick house. So we have both bricks plugged in. One's going into the solar and the other one's going into the regular AC input. Both of them are plugged in and turned on and ready to go. So let's see what kind of power we get with 2 factory power bricks. So you can see from the AC side, we're getting 54.7 volts at 7 amps, because these bricks can do 7 amps each, 382 watts. On the solar side, interestingly, we're actually getting a little bit more power. 58.2 volts at 7 amps for an input of 407 watts. That's very interesting. So with 2 of the chargers you can get from BLUETTI, you can charge at 800 watts combined, which is, again, impressive. And here's another question I get often about fast charging power stations. Now, power stations like the EcoFlow Delta, R600, they're known for charging like the fastest on the market. Now, the downside to this is that it does hurt the battery if you do it all the time. Now, if you charge the AC200 with just one of these, that's a pretty slow rate. You're not going to hurt the battery at all. If you start doing this double charging or the 1,000 watt charging on a very regular basis, it's going to degrade the battery slightly over time. It's not anything you'll probably ever notice. This is rated for over 2,000 cycles. You might knock a couple hundred cycles off of it if you're charging it at 1,000 watts every single day. It's one of the reasons why these power station companies, they always give you these slower chargers than what the power station can actually do. It's because they're trying to preserve the warranty, preserve the battery. And they allow you to, because the market demands it, to charge a lot faster. Almost everybody likes fast charging. So, of course, they're going to build that into the systems, but lithium batteries don't like sustained heat. They don't like to get hot. They don't like to be specially charged when they're hot. So by pumping 1,000 watts into this thing, it does heat it up. And you can actually see how hot is it. Right now, it's only 96 degrees. That's not a problem. Now, if it was really hot out and you're pumping 1,000 watts in, yeah, it's going to get pretty hot. So just keep that in mind. It's really not going to destroy the thing. You're not going to lose years of life off of it by charging it at 1,000 watts. But do be aware, if you do it all the time, it's going to degrade the battery slightly. One of the other questions I received about the AC200 is about the AC input port on this. Now, it does have an 8mm input that you actually use one of their big charging bricks. I guess a few of you are asking, can you put something else in there? Like, could you run a solar panel in there, or could you run another power supply? Well, I have my 48 volt here, which I hacked up to 52 volts, and I'm going to put it on 52 volts, and I'm going to turn it on. It is plugged in to the AC input. Now, obviously, this is not the OEM charger, so I'm doing this at my own risk, but you know, I'm undervolting, so I'm not really concerned that I'm going to break anything. So I got to use the Jackery back here for power, because this camper is running off of a very long extension cord, and I can't really pull any power from it besides the lights and the fan. So there we go. We're at 51.4 volts, which is as high as I can get this thing to crank. And let's go over here and see what happens on the input. So the relay just kicked on. It's running at 51.3 volts, 0.3 amps, 15 watts. So yeah, that's about as high as I can get this to go without using my voltage booster. And you can see even the aftermarket charger will work, but it is expecting 58.8 volts. So if you go too low like I am here, you're really not putting any significant power in. Now, if you want an alternate means of charging, you can use this 48 volt 1000 watt power supply that I have on HOBOTECH.tv/Amazon, and you can actually push almost the full 12 amps out of this. Right now we're doing 11.9 amps, 51.6 volts for a total of 614 watts. So this number far exceeds what you can get from the OEM charger running into the solar port. A note about the solar input, it takes a very long time to ramp up those last 2 amps. It's really fast up to 10 amps, but then from 10 amps to 12 amps, it's a slow climb. They basically have it probably for safety reasons or even charging safety on the battery. They slowly ramp up the amps to meet the maximum input of 12 amps on this. My Jackery is about to die, but it is pushing out 700 watts to charge at 614 watts. For those that want a closer look at the setup, here is the 1000 watt 48 volt charger. And I have it wired in using MC4 going into 8mm, going into their 8mm to XT90 adapter, and then going into the input on the back of the BLUETTI here. You can see this is their heavy duty input. And before you ask me, I already have a video on how to wire one of these up. So you can go back to that. I show all the details about the variable voltage charger. And this is a fixed voltage one, but I needed something that can push 20 amps because a lot of the power stations I'm getting now, they're higher powered. So they can take a lot more in, where my 500 watt variable voltage power supply, well, it's stopped at 500 watts. So I can't really get beyond that. And the BLUETTI I knew had a 700 watt input, so I invested in this. I think this was around $70, and it's, you know, 30, 40, even more cheaper than the factory power supply. So, you know, that's an option if you don't want to go and get the extra power supply. But here's the problem. You're never going to find this adapter. You're going to have to make your own. And let me show you what adapter that is. Now, when you buy the OEM power supply with the adapter on the Indiegogo page, they give you this adapter with it. Now, this is an 8mm female to XT90. And they make this themselves, and they offer it with the power supply. You're never going to find anything like this on Amazon or anywhere else, because it really doesn't make sense, right? Most of the time, no one's going to use 8mm on a big fat XT90 connector. So you're going to have to make this yourself. But I mean, there's other options because we have the MC4 to XT90. Now this can handle a little bit more power than the 8mm. So this would probably be the preferred method if you're going to run a charger. Now the thing is, you have to put your own MC4 connectors on, your cables coming out of this thing. Yeah, MC4 requires like special tools and stuff to make, so that's kind of like a downer. And finally, you have the trusty old cigarette lighter plug, which we all know is going to melt at 500 watts. So you can't really use this for high power charging. So what do you do? Well, you're gonna have to make your own cable. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. There's no easy solution to use one of these to bump your AC input to 1000 watts, because basically with this, combined with the AC charger that it comes with, you can charge at 1000 watts all day long. And that's pretty darn fast. I did perform this test before with MC4, and I could try that again. It's just messy because I have a very long cable that I would have to screw into this thing. All right, now we have the BLUETTI AC200 charging from the solar port using my 1000 watt power supply. It's doing 610 watts right now on the solar side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and plug in the OEM charger into the charger side. There we go. We have 392 coming in from the wall charger. So combined, you're over 1000 watts of charging power. So there you go, 1000 watt charging from the wall outlet. That means you can charge this in an hour and a half flat. And here's the moment you've all been waiting for. We're going to go ahead and charge the BLUETTI AC200 with a cheap, crappy lead-acid AGM battery. Now this battery is about 6 years old. I used this when I was in LA for my earthquake prep. It's been sitting outside for, I don't know, 4 months in the sun. I have no idea what the state of charge is. I know I charged it completely probably about 3 months ago, so I know it's not fully charged. It's the only lead-acid battery I have, so we're gonna use that. And the cables that you can get from the BLUETTI campaign, which has the XT90 on the side. And generally all you do is you take the XT90 from the input and you hook it to this. Nice and solid. And now You just put the clamps on. On the battery. Yeah. And I almost forgot. We need to change the BLUETTI and tell it that we're going to charge from 12 volts. So let's do that now. So we're going to go into settings and then DC input source to change it from PV to car. And here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm expecting it should max out the current at 8.2. So let's find out. This is the first time I've ever done this. And just like I suspected, it's pulling 8.2 amps at exactly 100 watts. Now you're not going to break any land speed records charging at 100 watts. In fact, it's going to take you something like 15, 16 hours to charge from a lead acid battery. But the fact of the matter is you can do it. And you can get these optional battery charging cables with your pledge on the BLUETTI AC200 campaign. So you can go to the campaign page, there's a separate entry for getting these battery charging cables. Now, what's the big deal about the charging from a lead acid battery? It's just a 12 volt source. Well, apparently BLUETTI says that when the battery gets down to a certain level, it'll stop charging. So it shouldn't kill the battery. It'll just bring it down to whatever the safety level is, but I'm guessing 50%, and then stop charging. So how are we going to test this? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and let it do whatever it wants to do to this battery. I'm going to come back tomorrow, and if it's completely dead, then we know that that test failed. Now, I do have a lithium iron phosphate battery. It's a 100 amp hour that I haven't even taken out of the box yet. I'm supposed to be testing, that I also want to use and see if this also works with the AC200. Now, I can guarantee that it's going to charge the AC200, but because lithium has a different voltage profile, pretty much it'll probably completely kill the battery all the way to 0, and that's not usually a good thing to do to lithium. So I don't think I'm going to try that right now, because I still got to take it out of the box and charge it to 100% before I even use it. But we'll see. Maybe I'll do that test later. So it's the next day. We've charged a whopping 2% on the BLUETTI AC200 from my 35 amp hour lead acid battery. So as you can see, it discharges the battery down to about 11.8 volts, which is around the 30 to 40% of lead acid battery capacity. So it does take it down a little bit lower than I would like. I would like if it would have cut it off at 12 volts, but 11.8 is still acceptable. It's not going to kill your lead acid battery down to 0. So this was a successful test of the lead acid charging the AC200. As you can see, we have the BLUETTI AC200 with 2 of their 120 watt solar panels pointed directly at the sun. We'll show you how to hook these cables up for those of you that want to know. First, you're going to need this adapter cable, which is the aviation plug to XT60. Then you're going to need the XT60 to MC4 cable. Plug these two together. Got this one, and you got this one. They only go together one way. You can't put them in backwards. Don't worry, you're not going to see. I just tried to plug it in backwards, wouldn't let me. You're not going to burn anything up. You can't hook this up wrong. Then you got these two that go to your solar panels, and you got this that goes to the BLUETTI. Here we got the cable from one solar panel and the cable from the other solar panel. These are MC4 connectors. They are color coded. You can see we got red on one, black on the other. Same with the other solar panel cable. So each one of these cables go to a 120 watt BLUETTI solar panel. Now these are the only connectors you get with them. So there's no adapters, there's no other finagling. These panels are designed to work with this power station. Now, of course, they work with other power stations if they have MC4. So all you got to do to run these in series, it's very, very easy. You take the black wire from one, see, the female, and you take the red wire from the other, the male. You plug the two of them together until they snap and won't come apart. That leaves you with a black female and a red male. Then you take your MC4 adapter, and again, you can't hook this up wrong. You just plug in your red to your red, like this. Then you plug the black into the black. Then you have your aviation plug, which goes into the other side of the BLUETTI. Then you have the input for the solar. There's a little red dot. I don't know if you can make that out. There's a little red dot showing you up. So that's how you plug it in. There's a red dot that matches that on the input. Push it until it clicks. That's it. That's all there is to hooking it up. But we have one more setting to change. Now it's very bright out here. You're probably not gonna be able to see the screen, but I've covered this before in the past 2 videos I've done about the BLUETTI, and that's how to switch it from car mode to solar mode. So you go into the settings, there's an option here that says PV mode or car mode. You switch it over from car mode to PV, and we're currently getting 168 watts, 171. So I saw it hitting 180 a little bit ago, so it's 31.6 volts, 5.4 amps. Right now, 170 watts. I don't know if you can read that. It's really bright out here. Just to give you an idea of what sky conditions we have today. Yes. So the sun is sort of peeking around these big clouds, and it's not really the most prime conditions for recording a solar video, but this is the best I've seen in about 2 weeks. Now, first of all, you guys might notice the texture on here looks very similar. That's because they're made by the same company. So this solar panel and this solar panel are both made by SunPower. At least the cells are made by SunPower, and then the individual companies come up with their own version of it, basically. So what you have here is exactly what you have here, and that's also why the prices are similar. JACKERY panels typically go for $299, and these I believe go for around $269. Don't quote me on that because the price changes compared to what's happening on Indiegogo. So they're comparable in price, but you're getting 120 watts here where you're getting 100 watts here. And also the JACKERY panel comes hardwired with that 8mm output, where this comes hardwired with an MC4 connector. The BLUETTI panels are much more versatile in that regard because that means they're gonna work as a regular solar panel would for just about any solar generator that has an MC4 adapter. But that's about where the similarities end. For one, BLUETTI doesn't use grommets. They don't have metal grommets to hang these up. If you want to hang these up, they have these vinyl loops. I never use these kind of loops. I always use the solar panels like you see here with the kickstand or laying completely flat. And as for the kickstand to the backside, they're pretty decent. They do have the thin straps, which I don't care for underneath. They're pretty solid legs, they're nice and wide. So wind typically isn't an issue unless it's really windy, then of course they're gonna blow over. But one of the things I do is I lay this on the ground and then I'll put a rock or something heavy in there, or you can use a tent peg and stake these down and it should hold it in place even under mild wind conditions. Now, if it's 40, 50 miles an hour, take these inside. And the BLUETTI comes with a zippered pocket, which has all the specifications inside, and has this hardwired MC4 connector. Now notice that the cable itself is not replaceable, so if you do something to the cable, you're gonna have to mend it yourself or get warranty service. And for those of you that want the specifications, there they are. And if you're curious how long the cable is, I'm gonna have to guess it's probably somewhere around 9 feet. So there we go, there's about 6 feet there. Yeah, 9 or 10 feet. It's about the length of the cable that comes with the solar panel. You helped me record today, huh? So ever since my initial review of the BLUETTI AC200, I've been constantly asked what solar panels to get. Now, I've just been recommending getting the BLUETTI panels because they're good. Made with SunPower cells, good brand stuff. A lot of you don't want foldable panels. A lot of you don't want flex panels. You want rigid glass panels and they'll last you a long time, and they're also really cheap. And I've been recommending the BOUGERV 170 watt panels. You can see I have 4 of them here set up on racks connected to my trailer. I've been waiting for 2 to 3 weeks for these clouds to go away. They do not. In fact, it just thunderstormed here about an hour ago. I waited for it to clear up just so I can come out and do this part of the video. I can't wait any longer to release this video, so I'm gonna just go ahead and release it. So next video, you can expect an actual real world test of solar using third-party solar panels. At least that's the game plan, because I gotta tear all this down in 5 days because we're moving. And I'm not putting it back up until wintertime, so clouds need to part the sky, the sun needs to come back out because I need to finish this video series. Now, if you're interested in any AC200 or any of the accessories that you saw today, just click on the link below in the description and it'll take you right to their Indiegogo page. The campaign's still going on for a couple more weeks, so you can still get in right now and get the AC200 for $12.99. That price is gonna go up to $13.99 soon. So don't hesitate if you want to get in on a very good deal. All the prices and everything are on that web page. Just click on the link below, it'll take you there, and you can stock up and get it before the campaign ends, because once the campaign ends, all the prices for this stuff is going to go up. And if you're not a subscriber to the channel, make sure you subscribe now if you want updates on the BLUETTI. Or join our Facebook group, the HOBOTECH Crew, where I post updates there regularly about specials, sales. I'll show production photos, give you updates about what's going on in the process for manufacturing. So I always post my updates either to my YouTube post discussion group area or to the Facebook group. So if you're subscribed to either one of those, you should get all the updates that I'm sending out. Sometimes I send out coupon codes and other special stuff that only people who subscribe to either one of those groups are gonna get. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get those posts. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to give me a thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
We've got a new addition to the family here. He definitely gives no F's about solar power or power stations, except that his shelter is 8 kilowatts of solar.
RV Golf Guy, Z Foxfire.